I was walking back to our new house that we just built late December last year, just before Christmas 2016. I can't remember what I was doing in the shed at the time, but as I was approaching our house just at the corner there, I looked down at the ground and I discovered something that was really amazing. Well, I was to find out later it wasn't actually me that discovered it first, but just take a look at this and see what you think.
I knew it. No, when I was playing guitar in it the other
Okay, I've just spotted this footprint, or Beck spotted it the other day. It's just outside our new house, just on the front corner, and this is really distinct. It is really clear, and it is absolutely massive. Now my foot is a size 13, and that's my foot there, and that's the toes. The big toe. The big toe is actually smaller than my foot, but it seems to sort of dig in like a curl. This is really, really amazing. This is just crazy. Okay, the crazy thing about this, like I said earlier, is that I didn't actually make this discovery first. When I saw the footprint, I raced inside and told my wife. I said, "Just come and have a look at this. I found this massive footprint out on the ground," and she just turned around and said, "Oh yeah, I actually saw that about 2 days ago and I forgot to tell you." I couldn't believe it, something like that, and she forgot to tell me, but she is a busy woman and she got caught up in busyness, and I was at work at the time, and luckily enough I found it. It was still in great shape, and I was able to take a mould of that particular footprint. Pretty exciting stuff, and certainly piling up the evidence that some large two-legged creature is definitely coming across our property at night, and we think it's a very strong possibility, and possibly even probability, that it's the Yowie. But you make up your own mind. I did make a mould of the footprint, so let's go and take a look. Just looking outside our shed door at the moment. Beautiful storm coming over our property right at the moment. I'm just inside the shed of our property. I've got the mould that I made of the footprint behind me. I'm actually speaking fairly loud now because the rain on our roof is falling quite loud. I want to make sure that the sound picks up on the video, but let's go and have a look at the mould. Now I set up some spotlights here just so we've got some really good light here. It was getting fairly dark obviously with the storm coming in. I put some spotlights here. That there is the mould of the footprint that we found back just before Christmas. Just a closer look here. It's pretty obvious. We can see the big toe coming around the smaller toes down the right side of the foot. You can see the heel there, the inner arch of the foot there. Foot is quite flat. The unfortunate thing is I'm no expert at casting moulds. I didn't have any plaster of Paris or the usual stuff that you would use to create a good mould. So I used what I had in the shed at the time, which I thought the best product to use would have been cornice cement, simply because it sets hard and also sets very quickly. The thing I didn't take into account was the fact that the ground was still extremely wet, extremely moist, so therefore the moulds didn't dry out as quick as I'd like. Even 24 hours later the mould was still quite moist and was very brittle. I got very impatient. I wanted to pull it out to see what it looked like. In doing that I ended up pulling a chunk of the mould out there, which I've filled in with a bit of base coat just to make it look a little bit better, but the rest of the actual mould is original and authentic from when it was originally cast. The other sections that were damaged are the smaller toe section over here and the little bit there which fell off when I was trying to pull it out. In the end I ended up getting a big shovel and digging underneath it so I wouldn't damage it any further, which was the best move in the end, because it's enabled the ground around it to dry out, enabled the cast to dry out, and in the end I thought it came out fairly good. The actual observations I've made is the big toe is actually relatively small in terms of the size of the foot. The smaller toes start a fair way back from the end of the big toe, and like I said before, the foot is quite flat. There's no real definitive arch there, which is quite strange. In terms of size, I'll first show you my opposing left foot with my boot on. I'm not sure whether I mentioned before, but I'm a size 13. This is with my hiking boot on. Got my boot lined up at the back of the heel, and as you can see, the toe of the cast is still a good half an inch to an inch, probably an inch longer than the actual cast of the boot. Now in terms of actual foot size, I'll put my right foot next to it, which I've taken my shoe off. It is considerably smaller, as you can see. I've lined it up at the back again, and look, I would estimate my foot would be at least 2.5 to 3 inches shorter than the cast. And if I put my foot over the top very carefully, because I don't want to break it any further, as you can see, it's probably I'll put it right back on the edge of the heel there. It's probably a good 2 inches longer. I'm suggesting it's probably the equivalent of maybe a, I don't know, size 17 or 18 foot. It's massive. In terms of what created this footprint, it's obviously something very large, bipedal. Look, obviously a possibility that it's a human, but if it is a human, it's an extremely large one. I have asked a couple of my friends and grilled them as to whether they may have played a prank, and I've confirmed beyond a doubt that they haven't. So unless it's a complete stranger playing a really good prank on us, this is actually a very legitimate, authentic footprint. And look, it's got us pretty excited. We have got another footprint which we cast the day after we filmed the video, The Eyes, which I uploaded earlier. It's a different shape to this, probably slightly bigger than this foot, and I will compare the two footprints in another video in the near future. But other than that, I don't think there's too much more to say about the mould. Like I said, it's got us pretty excited. Something that we'll obviously try and look after and keep in good condition. Probably try and glue those toes on just to keep it in one piece. And yeah, you make up your own mind. One of the questions that was asked of me about this footprint was, why was there only one footprint? It's a really, really good question. But it's actually one that's quite easily answered when you look at the ground conditions around our house at the time. We had just had a substantial storm come through. A significant amount of rain had fallen, and the ground around our house was extremely wet, but more wet in some places than others. Let me show you. Okay, I'm just looking back at our house. I'm looking at the corner of the house where we found the footprint. Now the footprint is obviously no longer there. We're talking just before Christmas when the footprint was discovered, and it's now early February. The other thing is, when I made the cast of the footprint, hey Boots, when I made the cast of the footprint, I had to actually dig the footprint out with a shovel because the cast of the mould was still too soft because of the moisture in the ground at the time. So the footprint is not there anymore. However, that there where I've got the camera, I just look up at the ground. Down there is the approximate location of the footprint. It was about halfway up this bank created by the earth moving machinery when they cut the pad for our house. Now if you look at this sort of section of ground here, you see that it's sort of fairly low, and being a low-lying area, when we had the significant amount of rain, that just pooled with water, so that area there was absolutely soaking wet, sloshy mud. Even though there was footprints in it, you couldn't really make any footprints that were actually definitive. However, the spot where we found the footprint was only one large step away. It was about halfway up the bank, so looking down at my foot there, and the ground at the time was perfect for creating a footprint. It was wet and soft enough that anything with a bit of weight was going to create a depression, but not too soft that the ground was just going to fall and wash away. And then you go one more step up here, even one of my steps up here, we're getting onto really solid rock hard ground, and no way anything was going to make a footprint there. And then we step back up onto the high ground, and all the ground around here is absolutely rock hard. Further out that way, if it was moving that direction, is grass, no footprints are going to be made there. Up that direction there is rock hard ground. If it decided to turn to go that way, again rock hard ground, it was not going to make a footprint. So turning back, that's the corner of our house there, walking in the direction, footprint was down there. Only, like I said, one footprint was made, but easily explainable, and something quite amazing. Okay, so what does all this mean? What created the footprint? This is obviously the question that people will ask. It's a question that we ask too, even though we've had numerous encounters in the past. We still always ask the same questions. What the heck caused that footprint? I've got to admit, I went and asked a number of my friends who are likely to play a prank like that and create a footprint. And assure you now, none of them created that footprint. It's a legitimate footprint, I believe. What is going to make a footprint that size? Well, put it this way. If it's not the Yowie, which I think it quite probably is, then I've either got Shaquille O'Neal or Yao Ming or someone like that walking across our block. Either way, someone or something that big, something a little bit freaky. Certainly makes life interesting out here, that's for sure.